I sat alone in my dimly lit bedroom, engrossed in a horror novel that sent chills down my spine. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation, every creak of the floorboards magnified by my overactive imagination. Little did I know that the true terror was about to unfold right before my eyes. As I turned the page, a sudden draft sent a shiver down my spine, causing the hairs on the back of my neck to stand on end. The room felt colder, the air heavier. A sense of unease washed over me, as if I were being watched. I glanced around, expecting to see nothing but the familiar surroundings of my room, but then I saw her, standing in the shadows, her silhouette barely visible against the darkness. My girlfriend, or at least it appeared to be her. A chill ran through me, my heart racing in my chest. What was she doing there, lurking in the darkness? Her eyes, once filled with warmth and affection, now seemed vacant, devoid of emotion. A twisted smile slowly formed on her lips, sending a wave of terror crashing over me. It was as if a stranger had replaced the person I thought I knew so well. Panic surged through my veins, urging me to flee, but my body remained frozen in fear. She stepped closer, each movement slow and deliberate, as if savoring the terror she evoked. I could hear the echoes of her footsteps, a haunting rhythm that echoed in the depths of my mind. The air grew thick with an indescribable energy, as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling. A flickering light bulb cast eerie shadows across her face, revealing twisted features that bore no resemblance to the woman I loved. Her eyes glowed with an unnatural intensity, an otherworldly presence that sent shivers down my spine. It was as if something had taken control of her, transforming her into a vessel of darkness. I mustered the courage to speak, my voice trembling. What are you doing?" I managed to stammer, my words barely audible in the suffocating silence. Her voice, once gentle and soothing, now carried an eerie undertone. It was a voice I didn't recognize, cold and detached. "I've always been watching you," she whispered, her voice carrying a disturbing certainty. Every secret, every thought laid bare before me. A surge of terror coursed through my veins, my mind racing for an escape. But she seemed to anticipate my every move, blocking any path to safety. The room grew smaller, the walls closing in around me, as if the very space conspired against my survival. In a final act of desperation, I bolted toward the door, only to find it locked. Panic seized me as I frantically tried to open it, my fingers slipping on the doorknob. I turned to face her, her sinister grin widening. "There's no escape," she hissed, her voice echoing in the confined space. And then, as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished into thin air, leaving me trembling and alone. The room returned to its normal state, the shadows retreating, but the horror of that encounter remained etched in my memory. From that day forward, I couldn't help but question everything. Was it a mere hallucination, a product of my overactive imagination? Or had I truly witnessed a glimpse into the darkness lurking within the person I loved? The uncertainty haunted me, forever casting a shadow over our once idyllic relationship. Ever since I was a kid, I had always wanted to have my own house one day. I have 4 siblings, all girls, and they were always so loud. They were either fighting over who takes a shower first, or who took whose makeup, and where so-and-so's charger went. The point I'm trying to make is they always had something to fight about. I wished so hard that my mum would have another boy, but I guess I didn't wish hard enough. Just the idea of a quiet house for me was heaven. When I turned 18, I was finally old enough to move out. And I was so excited. Having a house all to myself makes me laugh because it was too hard to believe. I moved into this small apartment a couple of months ago, and the first 2 months were amazing. There was no yelling sisters, no running around the house, and best of all, there was no line for the bathroom. Everything in this apartment was mine, and I wasn't going to put it to waste. My friends came over a lot to see my apartment, and they all said it was tiny, but I didn't care. It was my house, and it was big enough for me. Everything was going so well until 3 months ago. I don't know why or how, but I've been hearing things coming from around my apartment, whether it's things shifting around or just tiny things being out of place. My things were never in the place I left them last. I tried setting it aside, telling myself that I probably moved that myself and just forgot, or I've always had a bad memory, so I most likely moved that. I always tried to convince myself that it was me moving the things, but it got so bad that I couldn't blame myself anymore. One night while I was about to go to bed, I heard a noise coming from my living room. I quickly got up to look but didn't see anything. I shook my head and went back to my room, making sure I shut the door behind me and laid back down. I couldn't fall asleep, so I just stared at the roof, hoping it was enough for me to pass out. After looking at the roof for a good 30 minutes, I finally passed out. I got up in the morning with the biggest migraine. I went onto my phone to send my daily good morning text, and that's when I saw it. When I opened my phone, I was on the Photos app. I don't remember coming on here, I said to myself. I go through my gallery and there I see a photo I don't remember taking. There was a picture of me sleeping. I live alone. I know I live alone. So why is there a photo of me sleeping? I jump out of bed and scan my room just to find no one in sight. I call my mum and quickly tell her what I just saw. She got into her car as quick as she could and drove to my apartment. I packed all I needed and got in the car and drove back to her house. I was not going to take my chances and stay in that house any longer. There could have been someone in my house, and who knows what they could have done to me. We finally arrived to my childhood home and I went inside to unpack. When I was in the car with my mum, I had already called the police and filled them in on the situation. Later that day, I got a call from the police station. I was told to come down, and so I did. When I got there, I saw a man in handcuffs glaring at me. I turned to go to the front desk. I was called down here, I said to the lady at the desk. Yes, we wanted to tell you that we found the person whom was in your house. I was shocked. After hearing all of those things moving in my house, I needed to see who it was that was coming into my apartment every night. She walked me over to the man. This man right here, she says. I look at him. This is the man who has been coming into my apartment every night? I stare at him. More like living, she sighs. We found him in your walls. There was a little door that we almost didn't catch, and there we found him, sleeping. I could not believe what I was hearing. The man in front of me was living with me, and I didn't even know. How long has he been there? I say to the lady. About 6 months. I was speechless. I've been living in there for almost 5 months. That means that there has been a man living with me this whole time. I didn't want to hear any more, so I leave the police station and go back to my mum's house. Ever since that day, I have never wanted to live by myself ever again.